Welcome back to Parasocial Therapy, where we explore the lives of others through interrogative snapshots and reflective discussion. Today, we are speaking to an anonymous creative from Southeastern Europe. Question 1. Who are you? Where are you roughly from? And do you have any dreams or aspirations for the future? The answer. I am redacted. I am a closeted transgender woman from Southeastern Europe. I want to move to Canada to be with my fiancé and have a more successful career as a freelance 3D artist. Question 2. As I have known you for a while, I understand that you have experience with complex client work dynamics. As a freelance artist, what are common frustrations that you encounter and how do you go about dealing with them? The answer. Yes, I have gone completely as a freelance 3D generalist, and I feel like the most frustrating encounters for me are quick jobs and undecided clients. Those two are the bane of my existence because I feel like clients do not understand that what I do takes a lot of time, and when you don't even have an idea about what you want to do, it puts me in an uncomfortable position where I make something and the client does not like it. Another issue is the people that don't want to pay up front for a project, but that one is a fairly easy solution, I just don't take them. Question 3. Since I'm familiar with your work, I know that your style tends to lean into what I would describe as the weird and wonderful. What do you think attracts you to that region of creativity? The answer. I remember being obsessed with Ben 10 as a kid. They had some pretty interesting world building within the show, and that's where I started getting interested in creature and character design. But I got a whole lot of burnout after that, where I barely did any sculpting, and decided to focus more on procedural textures instead. But nowadays, posts are far and few between, mostly focusing on quick designs. Question 4. Earlier, when talking about frustrations with clients, you noted how those who cannot articulate their needs are a challenge to work with. That's something I've heard from a lot of other freelance artists. Do you have any particular approach to handle those interactions, or is it just frustration all the way down? The answer. Usually, for some, I end up sending them a Pinterest board that has a few images that would be possible to create and ask them to pick pins based on what they like. I ask them what they like for each image and try to come close to what they ask. If it all fails, then I have to cancel. Those clients are usually few, thankfully. A lot of clients I do get already know what they want. They have mood boards, they have video inspiration, and I just get to work. That's where they usually also give me creative freedom, and I get to shine. And I truly love that. It's one of the times where I'm able to self-critique for better and better results, and by the end, I am full of smiles and feel happy. Question 5. Earlier, you mentioned being a transgender woman from Southeastern Europe and wanting to move to Canada to be with your fiancé. Do you feel like your experience with being transgender has influenced your attitude towards or interest in artwork? And if so, is it possible to articulate how? The answer. I think it has. Not just being transgender, but being queer in general. I've seen art, poetry, and movies that truly affected me. Unfortunately, from what I've experienced, more often than not are sad. Movies like Nimona have a really beautiful and emotional story, both in the movie and the drama behind the scenes. Queer poets and a lot of other queer artists have made me get more comfortable with my emotions and improve my art, both written and visual. Artists I'd highly recommend to check out are Andrea Gibson, N.D. Stevenson, Fried Beans, makeup artist Lily Teal, Aubrey Joy, among many others. They have made me cry, feel, laugh, look in awe, and smile ear to ear, especially in this day and age where it feels like the world is falling apart. They showed me that it's important to stop and sit with your emotions and let them out, be it through creative means like drawing, writing, 3D art, painting, or even just sitting in one place and just letting those emotions flow instead of bottling things down. Question 6. As a transgender creative, I imagine you may have had to deal with stresses that others have not. You mentioned that you are from Southeastern Europe. If you are okay to discuss some of the challenges faced by transgender people in the region you are from, what would you like to highlight? The answer. From what I've seen and heard from other trans people, as well as my own personal experiences, one of the biggest issues faced by transgender people here is unacceptance, be it family or society, and that is mostly caused from ignorance. We have a lot of organizations, both online and on the ground, dedicated to educating the masses, and for the most part, it works. Unfortunately, there are still online trolls that a lot of people have been affected by, in some cases for the worst. But I am thankful we have a good community here. We have people dedicated to offering the queer community at large free therapy for their mental health needs. We have spaces that are made for and owned by our people, but thankfully there's growing support year after year. Question 7. Going back to freelance and creative work, you mentioned that your social posts are becoming few and far between. Do you find the struggle of dealing with frustrating clients has affected your personal enjoyment of art outside of your work? Is that something you struggle with? Or do you feel like you compartmentalize the experience as well? They answer, it isn't as much the clients as it is the places I worked for. A lot of agencies here are notorious for having a high turnover rate, mostly because of low pay, overworking employees, not treating them well to avoid saying they abuse them, in brackets, or any combination of the three. As someone who's very likely neurodivergent, those things caused me immense burnout to the point that as soon as I got home, I either went to sleep or watched TV until I went to bed. And when the weekends came, I spent the time lazing around. It hurt my creativity and my mental health in ways that I still need to recover from. I am happy that not all was lost though. I still wrote, I still tried to find the time to do my makeup to get my spirits up, or at the very least, I tried to share art I loved on Instagram. I'm also a huge puzzle fan, and I have found a perfect middle ground between that and doing 3D work. I have delved into the world of procedural textures, where it felt like solving a puzzle through boxes and lines to arrive at a result that is ever-changing. Question 8. As someone with experience regarding both creative work and global social issues, I'm interested in hearing what you think the most pressing issues of the modern day are for creatives around the world. What are the core issues, and how could they be improved? They answer, I feel like society's insistence that artists need to rely on social media for their exposure is incredibly harmful. Sites like Instagram or TikTok glorify consistency where it isn't really necessary, especially in the world of art, where creativity is extremely unpredictable, and forcing yourself to be creative can have adverse effects that will eventually lead to burnout. Community-based social networks feel way more helpful, like Discord, or maybe even Reddit. They are communities that actively encourage growth with critiques, support, and even challenges that will put people out of their comfort zones and get the creative gears running. Another thing would probably be the doom and gloom of AI. There's an excessive amount of fear-mongering on social media about how AI is able to replace this, that, and the other, and replicate human creativity. But the reality is that AI will only do its users harm by atrophying their creative muscle. That concludes our interview with the anonymous participant. Parasocial Therapy is made possible by my patrons. If you want to support this project, you can sign up at patreon.com/CurtisHolt. You can find more information on my website at curtisholt.online. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.